Introductory presentation. I'd like to call to order the June 20th, 2017 meeting of the Buncombe County Commission. Thank you all for being with us this evening. Would you all please rise and join us as we carry out the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I would be remiss if I failed to acknowledge that as we begin this afternoon, that this is Dr. Wanda Green's last meeting as our Buncombe County manager. And I'd like to take a moment to thank Wanda for her years of service and dedication to the people of Buncombe County. And I'd like to invite you all into a moment of prayer. We are thankful tonight for those in public service, and especially we give thanks for Wanda Green, who has served the people of Buncombe County with foresight and compassion and wisdom. Bless her as she enters this next period of her life. May she find moments of rest and relaxation, and may she relish the opportunities to focus on family and friends and things that are life-giving for her and bring her joy. We are thankful for the positive and lasting impact that she has had here in this place we call home, and we will be forever grateful for her years of service. Amen.
Amen.
You're very welcome. All right. I will read the county ethics reminder. In accordance with the Code of Ethics adopted by this board, all county commissioners have a duty to obey all applicable laws regarding official actions, to uphold the integrity and independence of the office, to avoid impropriety in the exercise of official duties, to faithfully perform the duties of the office, and to conduct the affairs of the governing board in an open and public manner. Is there any item on the agenda, the outcome of which will have a direct, substantial, and readily identifiable financial impact for any board member? Also, does any board member have a financial interest in any public contract coming before the board today? There being none, all board members have a duty and obligation to vote on all matters that come before the board this evening. We now are at our time for public comment. The time limit for individual comment to the board is 3 minutes. If your time expires, you may leave any question along with your name, address, and phone number with the county manager. Board members are not expected to comment on any matters during public comment. This is your time to speak to us. The board reserves the right to deny public address on any subject previously presented to the board during the same meeting. Are there any members of the public who would like to speak this evening? Mr. Yelton, you can go first, then you can go next.
I bet Wanda's going to be happy she doesn't have to see me anymore. That's all right, I miss her. I dressed for the occasion today, if you'll look at the T-shirt, because I did. I went to downtown Washington and I marched on the Capitol because of taxes. And I come in here and I sit down and I hear all these amendments are going to be made to the taxes and things added and things taken away. Well, that tells me you all have been talking, not in front of the public. And Brownie, I'm going to make a recommendation to this board that you, being as large as this county is, create a work day, just like the city's got, where you as the board sit in front of the public and discuss issues and ask all your questions. Public don't make any comment to maybe the bitter end or whatever. But I strongly suggest you do that, because that removes that little suspicion there that's not a suspicion, and we know it's not. But as I go through the agenda today, I see something. The board endorses an expansion of the program by increasing the income eligibility limits for the folks on fixed income. Now, there's not a person in this room doesn't want the old folks to be able to live in Buncombe County. But there's a problem with this resolution, and I'm looking for somebody to address this. That this board requests that the legislation be approved to increase the homestead exemption with reimbursement to the local governments for the lost revenue. Now, you all have had to sit there with all these people from these different organizations asking you for money. Now, your resolution is going to the state asking them for money. Where are you going to get your $300 and whatever it is $million? And for this, and the school's going to get their money, and the state get their money to give it back to the schools, and the state get their money to give it back to the county social services. Where's all that money coming from? And if you ask the state, you're doing the same thing that all these people are doing. You're passing on your responsibility and asking the state to give you money, and guess who has to pay that money? We, the people, even you. So I strongly encourage you to look at this money as it's your money. You make the cuts. You increase the improvement. You coordinate between the departments. You do things in this county to save money. And I promise you, if you'll start having your discussions in public, you will get some solutions that can save you money, because guess what we all have to do when our taxes go up? We have to cut our spending and save our money and stretch it further. And I'll be honest with you, I'm sick and tired of the state, the federal, and the county looking at me to pay the bills. Perfect.
Oh, my goodness.
Good evening. I'm Meg Turner. I'm a resident of Buncombe County and currently the principal at Charles D. Owen High School in Black Mountain, North Carolina. I've been employed as an administrator with the Buncombe County Schools for 16 years, dating back to 2001. First, I want to let the commissioners know how much I appreciate your commitment to public education. I also am going to ask you today to support, and I appreciate hearing that there's going to be an amendment towards the school district and its budget. I wrote my comments before I realized about that. But I know that you all have supported new construction, you've supported teachers beyond the state allotment for years, and we appreciate those as examples of what you do for public education. I'm also a homeowner in Buncombe County, and I feel the squeeze too, and I understand there are new pressures on you every day that are really made because of decisions that are made in Raleigh, and we appreciate what you do to support us. As I said tonight, I'm here specifically to ask you to please fund the final phase of the teacher supplement that you all promised that you would do a year ago. That final phase is essential to employees, not just teachers, but our custodial staff, our bus drivers, our cafeteria staff, our clerical and support staff for our teachers. And we all are aware of I think the current political condition in the state of North Carolina and the demoralizing nature and the effect that it has on our public school employees. And that has a lot to do with our teacher salaries being ranked as one of the lowest in the 50 United States. I also want to remind you, because I'm assuming that you know, principal pay is 51st. I didn't know there were 51, but I think that includes the District of Columbia. that is the bottom. We can't go any lower for principals. I realize you all should not have to shoulder the burden of all of that, but we have come to trust and appreciate your support for public education. I think it's really important that we are competitive with neighboring counties, with neighboring states, and also with private sector jobs. I was talking to a teacher from down east yesterday, and I mentioned how you all support public educators in this county and talked very specifically about the local supplement. I also want to mention that I know the budget in Raleigh that's been talked about in the last couple of months talks about a raise for teachers and a raise for administrators. When I calculated my raise in the Senate budget, it gave me a $4,000 base pay cut because they removed the years of experience, and it's moving more towards a merit-based pay schedule. That's hard to stomach after about 30 years in public service. I'll go with the flow. I'm not going to complain about that, but I'm just going to implore you tonight to continue your support for public education. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Jerry Rice.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. You those solemn-faced people today, you're fixing to screw us. Did you get that? The taxpayers are going to be screwed today by the people that promised not to do it. These people sitting out here in the audience, I'll tell them right now, they don't even need to be here to get what they want. They never have, and they never will have to be here to get it. You've always give it, commission after commission. I've watched this politics for years, and you can predict what's going to happen next. That's how predictable it is when it comes to this. The budget never goes down, it goes up. School don't need any more money. I want to know tonight how much of the $12 million out of the Buncombe County fund that they've got in fund balance is being used against this budget today. I'd like to know that. Let's go down to the harder questions. When you're looking at tax-exempt property, we look at small business. Small business is something around $6.9 billion in small business on the tax rate that taxes come in. Now, let's look at nonprofits in Buncombe County. The exempt property in Buncombe County is at 4.8780418183. $4.9 billion in nonprofit exemptions. That ought to curl your hair. CEOs making extreme amount of money. Nonprofit leaders making extreme amount of money. And all this is coming down to the taxpayers paying the bill. And when I say taxpayers, I'm talking about individuals. I'm not talking about people like it just got up here, it makes $50,000 or better, that can pay their bills. That's different. We're not talking about that group of people. We're talking about the majority of the people here in Buncombe County. I'm concerned when our debt service is over the amount of our complete budget. Now, when our debt service goes more than a regular $400 and some million complete budget, that's bad. That's not good management. I don't care who's sitting up there. We can't manage our own personal like that and stay in our home. 53.9 is a slap in the face to the taxpayers, period. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Is there any other members of the public who'd like to speak? Yes, please come on up.
Chairman Newman, Commissioners, It's come to my attention that the Buncombe County Schools stands to have allocated roughly $2.5 million towards its 2017 request of $4.5 million, and I appreciate very much that there has been an amendment proposed for this evening. I know that our commissioners have been very supportive and have high regard for our public schools, but I'm concerned about how we can fulfill our commitments for the good of all of our students at nearly half of the additional itemized budget request. That amendment will go a long way. Underfunding the budget request means that Buncombe County Schools will have to rob Peter to pay Peter, a shell game of sorts that merely shifts funding from one necessary expense to another, both expenses for the same intrinsic purpose, which is adequately educating our children for the future. What expenses can possibly be cut without having a negative effect on our students? There is nothing that the Buncombe County Schools has asked for that we do not need in order to deliver the schools that our students deserve. This is a time when our state government has spent a good deal of time legislating unfunded mandates and implementing budget cuts that tear away from our ability to create optimal learning environments. We excel because we are well-managed, well-trained, and deeply committed. However, we are at critical mass right now, both from a resource and a morale standpoint. We cannot help but look to you, our closest branch of government leadership, to invest appropriately in the children who live right here in our communities, your own children and grandchildren, those of your neighbors and constituents. This is where the line gets drawn, where we dig in deep and say, not in my backyard and not on my watch. Specifically, the $2 million shortfall in the budget has an obvious correlation to the amount of money already promised and voted last year for the second-year phase-in of the county supplement increase. The vote was tantamount to writing a promissory note to the teachers and staff of our schools that their work was valued, that their compensation was an important gesture toward making our county competitive with neighboring counties and with private industry, that Buncombe County needed to fulfill a years-old intention of increasing supplement pay and needed to acknowledge all levels of staff who contribute to the education of our children, and that commitment buoyed the morale of thousands of educators and support personnel who deliver on their promise each and every day to nurture and educate the children who will be Buncombe County workforce of tomorrow. And now that promissory note is in danger of default. Buncombe County Schools will not be able to deliver on the promise made by the county commissioners without cutting deeply into intrinsic core services. The long-term cost to our schools will be extensive, including the damage to the trust and morale of our professional staff. Teaching working conditions are student learning conditions. We cannot do more than we are doing, and certainly cannot do it with less. I ask that the County Commission increase the proposed budget as it pertains to the Buncombe County Schools itemized request. Our teachers and support staff deserve this consideration, and our students are counting on your unfailing focus on investing in their future so that they can become productive contributors to our community. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Any others? Yes, in the back.
I apologize if I missed your instructions at the beginning. Are you taking comment on the clean energy?
This would be the right time to do it
Okay,
because we
great.
won't take comment on it when we actually discuss it since we're not voting on it tonight. So yes, now's very appropriate time to
Okay.
talk.
So my name's Dr. Catherine Horton. I'm part of a local nonprofit, Community Roots. I'm part of a statewide coalition, the North Carolina Climate Solutions Coalition, which is 29 nonprofits across the state who are pushing for 100% renewable by 2050 and implementation of the Jacobson Plan. So I wanted to speak a little bit on the clean energy proposal that I see on the agenda and full support of it. I think this is so important for us to be considering, and I'm really delighted that it's been brought forth and put on the agenda. So climate change is real, and it's happening. 97% of scientists agree that it's happening, and that part of the cause is our activities as human beings. Probably as many of you know, the global temperature has raised 1.5 degrees Fahrenheit in the last century. The sea levels raised 8 inches, and the rate of that rise over the last 10 years has doubled, which means it's increasing rapidly. Over the last 10 years, we've had the largest and the most explosive forest fires in this country that we've ever had. You remember those from last year here. And there's a prediction that 90%, there'll be a 90% increase over the next 50 years in the amount of Category 4 and 5 hurricanes. This is happening. It's happening in North Carolina. It's happening across the globe. And so this proposal is one solution to helping us fight that. Obviously, that needs to happen in all sorts of different communities. But the fact that Buncombe County is considering this is really exciting. And we're very thankful for that. So one of the questions you might be faced with as you're considering this proposal is it feasible? People will ask you, well, it sounds like a great idea, but is it feasible? Can we actually do this? Is it possible to get to 100% renewable energy by 2050? And the answer to that is a resounding yes. And there's lots of data that I'm happy to send you. Green jobs is one of the fastest growing sectors in our country. It's growing at 5% right now, and solar jobs in particular are growing at 11%. So there's a huge economic impact to investing in clean energy that's going to increase jobs and increase the development of the county. Currently, there's 1 million near or full-time people employed in the green energy sector in the US. That's 5 times as many as are employed in the fossil fuels industry. And if you add the people that are working part-time, we've got 3 million workers in the US working on green energy. So far, 27 cities have committed to going 100% renewable by 2050. The last one was Atlanta. And there's currently 4 cities and 1 island in Alaska in the US that are already running on 100% renewable. So it's totally doable, it's totally needed, and we really appreciate your support in making this a possibility in Buncombe County. Thank you.
Great, thank you. All right, anybody else? Okay, yes, sir. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Good evening. My name is Hardy Holland. I'm the acting sitting chair of the Dinah Wortham Theater. I'd first like you to excuse the absence of John Ellis and Ray Jeffrey, our managing associate director. They are attending a conference in Wilmington, North Carolina, of the North Carolina Presenters Consortium, where Ray is the chairperson. 25 years ago, Buncombe County partnered with Pack Place in an effort to revitalize downtown. Was it successful? Did this investment bear fruit? Just look around. I think the answer is obvious. I want to be very clear here. We are not asking for additional resources from the county, only continued funding, preferably at the $300,000 level. The proposed funding level of $175,000 would be a devastating reduction and would significantly impact our organization's ability to serve the community through our mission. It is true that only half of our building is currently operational, while half of it is under construction. However, most of the building's operational costs are fixed. The variable costs, such as utilities, have yet to show any significant decline. The Dinah Wortham Theater is home to over 20 of our local arts groups. We boast annual attendance of 50,000 and serve 10,000 school children through our programming in Western North Carolina. Our planned expansion plans have laid the groundwork to increase our programming for children and families over 250% to 75 events a year, and increase our annual attendance 60% to over 80,000 a year. We are simply creating a performing arts center that will enhance our ability to touch more people in this community and to be an economic driver in the arts and cultural mecca that we have become. Economically, and this is the most important part, we will simply put heads on the beds of our hotels, as the Tourism Development Authority will confirm. When Pack Place was developed to revitalize downtown, it was also hoped that it would be a catalyst for upward property values, thus better tax receipts. I propose to all of you today that the county's funding has allowed us to be a positive catalyst to higher hotel and property tax receipts. I acknowledge that local budgets are tight and it's been a difficult year, but we have not asked you for a contribution to our building expansion and our capital campaign, but only ask you to continue to fund our operational costs at a level that we can continue to do the work that serves our community in both tangible and intangible ways. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, Ellie.
Chairman Newman and the rest of the commissioners, hello. My name is Ellie Wells. I'm a Buncombe County taxpayer and a marketing professional who works with numerous arts organizations, including the Dinah Wortham Theater. In my consulting capacity, what strikes me as most essential about Dinah Wortham is its shared use by an incredible array of Buncombe County groups, organizations, and businesses. These groups rely on the theater's availability and affordability, made possible by the current $350,000 level of operating support from Buncombe County for the Pack Square Cultural Partnership. The theater is the most active performing arts and civic events venue in all of Western North Carolina, with more than 200 events a year representing the interests of taxpayers of all stripes. The performers, speakers, and audiences, everyone involved with these groups, represent the taxpayers who currently utilize this space. This is a partial list: Asheville Ballet, Asheville Chamber Music Series, Asheville Contemporary Dance Theater, Asheville Lyric Opera, Asheville Percussion Festival, Asheville Symphony Orchestra, Asheville Symphony Youth Orchestra, Asheville Performing Arts Academy, Ballet Conservatory of Asheville, Black Mountain College Museum and Arts Center, Blue Ridge Ballet, Blue Star Dance, the Buncombe County Service Foundation, the Community Choreography Project, David Lamott, D&B Audio, Folkmoot, Fox and Beggar Theater, Hanger Hall, Land of Sky Chorus, Land of Sky Symphonic Band, Laugh Your Asheville Off, Malaprops Bookstore, Miss Gay Latina, Music Video Asheville, Pisgah Legal Services, Red Herring Puppets, Sisters of Mercy Urgent Care, Stories on Asheville's Front Porch, Terpsichore Theater of Dance, The Three Davids, Verner Education, Woman Song, Worthwhile Sounds, the World Masterwork Series, and the YMCA. Sustained funding benefits all these organizations. The reduction in funding would negatively impact all of these organizations. This facility, at its current funding, provides these groups with a state-of-the-art venue with top-notch support systems to assist them with their work. A well-maintained 500-seat hall, a dedicated technical staff, box office and ticketing, and promotional support. A reduction from $350,000 to $175,000 from the county drastically impacts our facility and all the people it serves. We respectfully request that funding be provided at a sustainable level in order to continue the same level of service that this facility has shared for the past 25 years. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, you and then Tyler after the person next to you.
Hello, my name is Jamie Frederick. I'm a resident of Asheville. And I wanted to, well, first of all, thank you for this opportunity to speak. I wanted to draw the attention of the commissioners to something that is a really, I think that's something that we all know, but sometimes it's really easy to overlook. And that's that in all the decisions that we make, which I know you have a lot of decisions on your plate right now, that the earth is primary. That if we don't have a healthy earth, we literally don't have anything at all. If we don't put our resources and our innovation and our intelligence into protecting and preserving and restoring the health of our planet, we really, everything else that we're trying to accomplish is pretty much moot. So as you guys are working on your budget deliberations and these proposals that are coming up from the EITF and from other sources, I just wanted to encourage you to put the health of our planet and the health of our future generations on the front burner while you're making those decisions. I'm sure that all of you have children in your lives that you love. I have a niece and nephew who are turning 5 next month. And when I think about their future and their lives 20 years from now, 30 years from now, 50 years from now, I feel so scared and sad to think that we're going to leave them a world that they're either going to have to clean up themselves with probably a lot of resentment, I would guess, or they won't have an earth that they can live on at all. And that's like reality. That's something that I think is pretty clear from from the science and just from our own personal observations. So yeah, just as you're listening today to different proposals and you're working on your decision making, please put the earth in the position that it belongs. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name's Tyler Garrison. Ooh, I got all close. How are y'all doing today? Night. So my name's Tyler, and I've been here before, obviously. And I really just wanted to come first and foremost and thank each and every one of you. I know that's not my typical MO, but thank y'all. Seriously, sincerely, thank you. Thank you on the behalf of myself. Thank you on behalf of my 3-year-old daughter. You know, despite my long-haired hippie appearance, I own a few businesses here in Asheville, and I like many of y'all, I genuinely care about this community. This is my home. This is my roots here. You know, I mean, this is not just a place I'm at temporarily. And the fact that y'all have on the agenda tonight, and I haven't seen the full thing yet, but the fact that y'all have on the agenda tonight a proposal for making this county 100% renewable is a major deal to me personally, just as a human being, as an individual, as one of your voters. And so I just really wanted to come out tonight and say thank you. Thank you for putting it on the agenda. Thank you for considering it. Thank you for taking a look at something that typically gets pushed under the paperwork of a lot of big decisions that y'all make on a daily basis. And I do recognize this is not an issue that speaks to the hearts of everyone like it does me. I get that. But I challenge you objectively, as a business person, as a council, as a commissioner, objectively, is there any other issue that we deal with currently in our lifetime that threatens the ability of our grandchildren to have an existence on this planet? And if you can show me one other issue that does that right now, then I would say absolutely move it on top of this. But if you can't, then I say we have a moral obligation to make this the top priority, not just for our small communities, not just for our constituents, but for the children and the grandchildren that I hope that we're doing the things that we're doing for. So thank you again, and I mean that as sincerely as I know how to say it. I'm going to see if I can get y'all all in here. Commissioner Newman, Whiteside, Ferrara. I have a Palm Pilot just in case I forgot some of y'all. That's my Palm Pilot. Frost, Belcher, and Presley. Did I miss anybody? Did I miss somebody? I did. I missed somebody, didn't I? Who did I miss?
Fryer.
No, I said Fryer. Didn't I say Fryer? I did now. Sincerely. Sincerely, thank you all. Yeah.
Thank you. All right. Yes, sir. And then anybody else after this gentleman? Okay. The two of you guys can work it out. Who wants to go first, next, and then keep it going? Hi, go ahead.
Thank you. Commissioners, I want to thank you on behalf of the Asheville Art Museum for your support of both the museum's capital project as well as the funding allocation for the past many years. My name is Darren Green, and I am both a member of the Asheville Art Museum Board of Trustees as well as a business owner in the River Arts District. As a small business owner, I am well aware of the challenges in creating an operating budget with the hopes and expectations that the projected revenue stream will meet the needs of the operation. The recent budget allocation decrease to the Pack Square Cultural Partnership from $350,000 to $175,000 makes it extremely challenging to continue to provide the high level of educational services, programming, and tourism needs that our Western North Carolina residents and visitors frankly expect and deserve. I ask you at this time to reconsider the budget to $285,000, which will cover the bare minimum cost of the 2 South Pack Square facility in order to continue to serve the community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Commissioners. I'm Lynn Andrews, and I'm the chair of the Board of Trustees of the Asheville Art Museum. I'm here to request that the commissioners reconsider their decision to cut funding for the Pack Square Cultural Partnership by 50%. After 25 years of continuous support, the county board made this drastic cut without conversation with either the Diana Wortham Theater or the Asheville Art Museum. Our organizations now face a $175,000 shortfall overnight. We know the pressure that the county board faces in funding all it does, and we support your efforts to scrutinize every expenditure. But we believe that a conversation among us all is in order to reach a reasonable number of support for this year, a number that would work for the county, for the partnership, and for the community. I'm proposing that you table the amount now in the budget for the Pack Square Cultural Partnership and reconvene a meeting with the two organizations involved to come up with a number that we can all work well with. Thank you.
Thank you. Right.
Commissioners, I'm Pamela Myers. I'm the Executive Director of the Asheville Art Museum, and much of what I wanted to say has been said, so I will be brief. The museum has worked in partnership with Buncombe County to provide critical educational and cultural services to residents and visitors to our region for more than 69 years. We're aware that this is a tough budget year, as many seem to be, and we thank you for your hard work. We are grateful for the county's commitment to the Asheville Art Museum Capital Project, which has enabled us to launch major construction of this transformative project for our county, the community, and its many visitors. We look forward to sharing our progress with all of you. The museum design and construction team is overwhelmingly local, amplifying the significant economic impact of the project. And the museum served nearly 130,000 participants last year, including 21,000 students on-site and off-site. We anticipate that this will double in the new museum. An overwhelming majority of Americans believe that the arts are a part of a well-rounded education and are essential to the development of a creative workforce for the next century. The museum is a proud partner with Buncombe County Schools, and with your support looks forward to increasing services to students and teachers throughout the transitional process and thereafter. As it's been said, for 26 years, the county has supported the cultural facilities at 2 South Pack Square. The enormous public and private investment in the education and artistic opportunities for all Buncombe County residents and visitors provided by the Diana Wortham Theater and the Asheville Art Museum has been a critical element of the revitalization of our community. We ask that the commissioners increase the community funding this year to the Pack Square Cultural Partnership from $175,000 allocated currently to $285,000 for the next year, in which construction will be ongoing in portions of the Diana Wortham Theater and the AAM areas of the facility. Of this allocation, $175,000 would cover the actual utility costs for the entire facility, and we estimate, based on past experience, that a minimum allocation of an additional $110,000 would support the very most basic operations of both organizations in the facility during this important transition. These funds are absolutely critical to our ability to continue to serve Buncombe County and Western North Carolina. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, anyone else? All right. The next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. If there's no questions about it, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda and agreement to follow the published agenda?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Our first public hearing is an economic development incentive for Highland Brewing, and John Creighton, Assistant County Manager, will present this item.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I'd like to talk to you about an incentive tonight for Highland Brewing Company. Oscar Wong started Highland Brewing over 20 years ago. He was the first out of the chute here in Buncombe County, and I have to say he's had a very successful business. Last year, Highland Brewing was one of 2 breweries in the southeast that had double-digit growth. They currently employ over 50 employees. Back in 2014, Tim Lampkin with the Chamber approached me about a possible expansion for Highland Brewing. At that time, they were projecting 15 jobs with an average wage of $42,016 and making an investment in equipment and building renovations at $5 million. That time, I suggested that we do a one-time incentive grant of $61,405 based on the number of jobs, the wages, and the investment. Unfortunately, Highland Brewing was only able to create 10 jobs, but I have to say that the average wage is higher than what was projected at $44,676, which is over $2,500 more than what was anticipated. What we do when we put an incentive grant together, we base half of that grant on the jobs and the wages of those jobs, and then the other half goes for the capital investment. So in this case, the $61,405, if you divide that in half, is $30,702.86. So you say you take that half and divide it by the number of jobs, which was 15 jobs. The average of those jobs, we would pay $2,046.83 per job. So if they're 5 jobs short, I would recommend that we reduce the incentive amount by $10,234, which would make the incentive $51,171. Now, as far as the capital investment, instead of the $5 million that was projected, our appraisers went out and valued it over $7.5 million in investment. So it came in way ahead on the investment, but a little short on the jobs. So I'd like to ask Oscar Wong to come up and talk to you all, and if you all have any questions after he finishes, we'll be more than happy to answer them.
Thank you, John. I'm proud to be part of this community. I'm happy to be here, and it's been a wonderful, wonderful experience. We're a little bit short on the people because we projected and got more an unprecedented competition.
Yeah, you did, and
sure did. So in essence, we did bring up even more jobs than we projected. Anyway, I just want to say thank you because this community means a lot to me. It's where we've decided to just reside, and now I'm in a I keep thinking the rest home, the retirement home, but I'm still active.
Do you have any questions before we open the public hearing?
I do. So instead of averages, what are the salaries?
44.
Basically they're $17 to $18 jobs, the vast majority of them. There's one that skews it a little bit that's $72,000 job, but they run anywhere in the mid-30s is what the jobs run.
Mid-30s.
Uh-huh.
All right, if there's no other questions at this time, why don't we open the public hearing? And I'll go ahead and do that now. We're going to open the public hearing at 5:43. Are there any members of the public who would like to comment for the hearing? Jerry Rice.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. These incentives I don't like no way. But there's one thing that I do. I like our kids. I like our people here in Buncombe County. And these incentive things don't go well with me, especially with a beer company. Most people I talk to would probably say, that's okay, that's great. Well, tourism is doing exactly what you wanted. Maybe not you as a commissioner today, but you're going to be accountable for things in the future, just like the other predecessors. There's one thing that gets to my heart, and educators, they do too. And parents, really, if they should, be excited about their kids. When it comes to the place that beer is exonerated and alcohol to the point that it is, our government ought to be interested in that. You know why? The impact on our sheriff, our police, our agencies, our DSS, our schools, the impact of what this job is bringing in today is untold on the human life of what we're trying to look at. Opioid. Do you understand what that is? What does preceding opioid? Drinking. We have come to a time in our Buncombe County that it is exonerating God in our life. What did he say would happen in the last days, whether you believe the Bible or not? Eating, drinking, marrying, giving in marriage. I'm preaching to you just a little bit. These are the core values that we need to be looking at. We wouldn't have a DSS department the way we do if we had the lifestyle that we should have in Buncombe County. We need to clean our lives up, period. If you like it, say amen. Uh-oh. Get no amen.
All right, anyone else? All right, we're going to close the public hearing at 5:45, and I'll bring it back to the commission for discussion. Don't everyone go at once. Any
I'll
questions
go.
or comments, or is there a motion?
Randy Fryer.
Go ahead, Commissioner Fryer.
Mr. Wong, if I remember right, you was number one in Buncombe County as far as bringing the beer. As you said, you have a little bit of competition now. You know, I'm back to the thing, I don't really drink beer. I tried, but I have to mix orange juice and everything with it. It didn't work very well. But we do appreciate the jobs that you bring forward. You know, and Jerry's right in certain ways. Alcohol is not the best thing to be, but it's not the worst thing either. The opioids, the drugs, the other things is a whole lot worse. So appreciate the toleration of you being number one, liking our area, and decided you were going to retire here totally. So thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I appreciate that the jobs were lined out in the salary and not the averages. So thank you.
Oscar, I appreciate what you've done with Highland Brewery. And not only that, I appreciate the contributions that you are making in the community here through the work that you do and your employees at Highland Brewery. You are the type of industry, and I'm not a big beer drinker, but I do every now and then. But you are the type of industry that we do welcome because you pay well and you take care of your employees. Not only that, but you do contribute to the overall community as a whole. So thank you. We appreciate what you do.
Thank you.
Is that a motion?
And I make a motion that we approve the incentive.
I'll second.
So I've got a comment. I want to thank Mr. Wong for his family and what he does for the community, and since I've become a commissioner, he's been a good friend, and I appreciate that. And as a matter of personal conviction, I do not support incentives to the beer and alcohol industry, so I'll be voting no. But there's no reflection on you and your family. I'm very grateful for what y'all do for the community very much. Thank you.
Further discussion? There's a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
All right, thank you very much. The next item on the agenda is a rezoning request for PIN number 9679.9-0221 from R1 to R3. And Debbie Trumpy will explain the item, or present the item.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Wade Watkins has applied to rezone a 0.98 acre parcel from residential district R1 to residential district R3. The property is currently vacant. Property to the north of the subject parcel is vacant and zoned R3. The property to the west contains a manufactured home park and is also zoned R3. The property to the south contains a site-built residence, and that is zoned R1. Properties to the east, which are separated by New Salem Road, include a site-built home, a vacant parcel, and a manufactured home, and are zoned R1. The applicant is seeking the rezoning in order to place a manufactured home on the property. The Planning Department recommends approval of the proposed rezoning as it is consistent with the Comprehensive Land Use Plan. The 2013 update suggests single-family and duplex development be within reasonable proximity to major transportation corridors, within combined water and sewer service areas, and outside of steep slopes, high elevations, moderate and high hazard slope stability areas, and flood hazard areas. The Planning Board held a public hearing on this application on June the 5th. 2 people spoke during public comment, and both speakers were in favor of the rezoning. They stated that a manufactured home had previously been on the property and that it would be an improvement in the neighborhood. The Planning Board found that the proposed amendment is consistent with the land use plan, is reasonable, and is in the public interest, as it is compatible with the surrounding residential development, is adjacent to an R3 zoning district, is served by public water, and is readily accessed by an NCDOT-maintained road. The Planning Board recommended approval of the rezoning in a vote of 7-0. And I'll be happy to take any questions if you have any now.
All right, just see if there's any questions at this time. So let's open the public hearing at 5:51. Are there any members of the public who would like to speak? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing at 5:52. Is there a motion or from the board?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
I'll make a motion to approve and find that the request is consistent with the county comprehensive land use plan, reasonable, and in the public interest.
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Is that all we need, Ms. Trumpy?
That's it.
Great, thank you. All right, the next item on our agenda is the consideration of the FY18 budget, and Dr. Green will provide some additional information for us.
All right, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, this is my favorite part of the budget process because in just a few minutes we'll have an 18 budget, so that's always a nice point to get to. So very clearly this is your budget and you've all had a lot of input into the process and we appreciate that. For 3 of you, this is your first budget, and that's always a challenge. For 1 of you, it's your 3rd county budget, but you've done many budgets for another agency. And another 3 of you are making your way through the 5th budget. So I'm hoping that those of you who are going through the 5th can tell the ones who have gone through the 1st that it does get better, but it's different every year. It does give you a great deal of opportunity to learn a lot about our citizens and what they need and the services and what we provide. I do appreciate your time, your energy, and efforts. This has got feedback on it. I can almost hear it. That you know, you've put a lot of energy into making this a very successful budget. I'd like to go over some of the key factors and share some of the highlights of the increases and the decreases in both expenses and revenues, and then talk you through a few challenges and opportunities, and then hopefully we're ready to adopt a budget. So we can bring up the PowerPoint. Okay. This is this budget totals. I am sorry, but there it is, 328. It's a general fund budget of $328,862,410, and a non-general fund budget of $102,467,466, for a total overall county budget of $431.3 million. It is a 5.5% increase in the general fund budget. Just to point out that the non-general fund budgets include things like your occupancy tax, your 911 fund, your fire districts, mountain mobility, solid waste, and our insurance funds. This is a reval year, and we have to identify for you revenue neutral. The 2017 budget, which we're finishing, was built on and executed using a 60.4 tax rate. Revenue neutral is 51.3 cents, but this budget tonight is presented to you at 53.9 cents, which is a 5.07 increase over revenue neutral. The components of the budget are still our core services. That's human service, public safety, and education. And there's not a lot of shifting. They take a considerable amount of our budget. You only have discretion over about 8% of our budget. 92% of it is mandated services. And you'll recall the chart where we laid those out in early May. There are some things that we had to adjust for. There's new property tax in here at a little over $13 million. New sales tax at almost $2.4. We are filling a revenue gap with some one-time funds because we had one-time funds last time. There's some additional revenues that are coming because of services we provide. Those are reimbursements. A lot of that's intergovernmental and are just based on sheer volume going up in some of our departments. Our spending is also very consistent. I gave you the expenditure information. I should have been giving you the revenue information. Sorry. Maybe I'm just kind of checked out on some of that. So let's go back and say expenditures are our core services, human service, public safety, and education. If I went back to the other graph, I would say primarily the revenues are sales tax, property tax, and intergovernmental revenue. They make up the bulk of our revenues. I'm so sorry. If you take a look at the breakdown of our expenditures, you're looking at salaries and benefits being $133 million of our general fund. You're looking at our operating budget being about $54 million, and program support being at $112.3 million before we make some adjustments tonight. That's program support are monies that we pay out to other organizations for the functions we have, primarily being education and some of the contracts that we have. But if we've privatized something or we're providing the funding to another organization to provide the services, that's program support. If you look at some of the things that, I'm not going to read you the list, that are we've talked a lot about. Some of our increased costs are the one-time cost for Eagle Market Street. We will set that money aside, and we will not pay that until we're instructed, as we've been instructed, those are the last dollars in. Our increase for our employees that we give in April. If you look, we do have, I just want to point out, we do have retiree health insurance. That's been in place since I came here 23 years ago. We did change the policy, and anyone who came to work for us after June 30th of 2015, we no longer make that benefit available. That's what we are primarily referring to when we talk about OPEB. It's other post-employment benefits, and we hope to see that liability decline as we move forward in coming years. We are also opening in mid-18. We'll open the Cox Avenue facility and be paying for that debt. Some new school nurses, and then at the bottom you'll see our investment in schools, which we'll be asking you to adjust in just a few moments. We do have a little bit of capital in this budget. Primarily, this is to replace a cooling tower in the jail. That's the bulk of this. The courthouse, that is, cooling tower is one piece of it. The exterior repair on the courthouse is the biggest piece at a little over $2 million. And the other thing that you do in this budget is you set other tax rates. We set tax rates for 21 fire districts and the city school supplemental tax. I want to make a recommendation to you, and Max, you can take the PowerPoint down for a moment. Based on what I heard in our pre-session, I'm recommending to you that we adopt this budget at 53.9 cents with the following changes. Remove Section 13 of the ordinance. Decrease the governing body budget by $4,724. Decrease the EMS budget by $75,396. That's for the community paramedic. Increase the transfer to Fund 41 by $100,000 for Orchard Park. Increase our funding to Sports Commission for SOCOM by $30,000. Increase the Buncombe County School funding by $1,539,424. Increase the Asheville City School funding by $283,674. That's the ADM share of this. And then that would increase your fund balance appropriation by $1,872,978. So my recommendation to you tonight is to adopt the 2018 budget at a 53.9 tax rate with these changes to the budget, and I'm happy to repeat those if you'd like.
Please.
I'm also happy to answer any question.
Please repeat them.
Okay. The first is to decrease the governing body budget by $4,724, to decrease the EMS budget by $75,396, to increase transfers by $100,000. That would go to Fund 41 for the Orchard Park. To increase nonprofit funding to Sports Commission for SOCOM by $30,000. To increase Buncombe County School funding by $1,539,424. And to increase the Asheville City School funding for their ADM share for that by $283,674. To accommodate all of those, we would be increasing the fund balance appropriation by $1,872,978.
Thank
you. And also, did you mention on the first list, Dr. Green, the striking the Article 13?
Yes, sir, striking Section 13 of the ordinance.
Okay.
And all of this is done inside the ordinance.
And to approve a tax rate of 53.9.
53.9 cents plus the tax rates for all of the taxing districts.
I want to, oh, go ahead.
I had a question.
Oh, go ahead. Ask
Okay. Thank you for the presentation. Do we know the percentage with that additional 1.8 million drawn from the fund balance, what percentage we'd be maintaining at that point?
Increasing the fund balance appropriation by just shy of $2 million does take it down a percentage point from what we were projecting.
So it's
Yes. Yeah, I was just wanted an update if we
17?
17 to 16?
No.
about 16%.
From 8.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
I wanted to thank you, thank everyone for the work on this budget. It's been challenging. Everybody isn't getting what everybody wants, but all of it's a work in progress, and there are things we can study and revisit. And on a personal note, I want to thank you. I think we first met in 1999, and somewhat ill-advisedly, I agreed to serve on an animal advisory board. And I've enjoyed our friendship, and as one grandmother to another, enjoy your grandkids.
Thank you. I'm going to do that.
And I'd like to make a motion to approve the budget as the manager stated it.
Second.
All right, there's a motion and a second. Further comments?
I'd just like to take a second to thank everyone who's here tonight and the many other people who were here the night of public comments and who have who every day are working to make our community a stronger, better place, oftentimes without all the resources they need. I know that's very real, and this has been a collaborative process across many agencies, across county staff. Dr. Green, thank you for your leadership in it. I believe this version of the budget reflects us responding to some of the most critical needs in our community and prioritizing them, while also lifting up the vision of what's possible in Buncombe County. I also recognize that it's not satisfactory to everyone, and just want to reiterate that this is open dialogue, and we're here to represent you. And as Commissioner Frost said, you know, it is always a work in progress to figure out how to develop a budget to respond to the complex and really varied needs in our community. So I look forward to supporting this budget, and also just want to add that additional context.
And I'd like to thank you, Dr. Green, for, even though it's a short time, you know, I tell everybody when I show up on any commission or whatever, everything changes. But I appreciate your guidance through this, as well as all of the county employees, Tim and all of the people from the finance area who've worked with this. And me being the newest kid on the block, the biggest difference for me is being 40 years in banking. I'm used to either black or red in a budget. Now it's a new day when most of it's gray. But I've enjoyed it, and the bottom line is, and I agree with Jasmine, even though everybody has not gotten what they want, but we've tried to do what's best for Buncombe County and for all the constituents, and I think that's it. And one thing I would like to point out that we didn't point out, that the commission is not taking an increase in salary. Thanks.
One quick note too. I want to thank all 7 commissioners. We have worked collaboratively, hourlessly, and we're doing something here that seems unprecedented. Democrats and Republicans talk, get along, and work things out. So I want to thank all of you for the incredibly hard work, conversation. We don't always agree, but we can disagree politely.
Right.
Dr. Green, thank you for the last 7 months. We've got to know you. We're short. And jokingly, I can say this is the toughest budget I've ever been through. This is the only one. And I hope they do get better, because I want to thank everyone for being here. And, you know, we want to give to everyone, but I hope that we done it fairly this year. It was a lot of work. I mean, a lot of meeting, of trying to satisfy everybody. And I know there's some that's going to be upset, but hopefully next year it will be easier. And I want to thank you for everything, all the times I come to you, and you're going to be missed very much.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Well, I'll go ahead, Commissioner Fryer. Thank you. I also want to say that I do want to mention that there was a comment made about work sessions. I think that that this commission agrees with that, and that we're going to do that, and it's going to be more open and out in front of the public. I want to thank Commissioner. I want to thank everybody, but I want to thank Commissioner Presley for really his education stand, and the rest of the commissioners working with and the board, school board, and working to make this a reasonable solution in funding all pay increases to the teachers, every one of them. Now, there's some sacrifice made on our side and some made on the school board side, but without, and I want to be clear on that, because I want to make sure that that point was made tonight. That's why that additional change was, and why we appropriated more fund balance to do that, and had the ability to do that. But I've been in 5 budgets. This is different than all of them. I have had more input in this budget than any previous budget. I have you know, in evidence is the, you know, though it's compared to the entire budget, it's not a lot of money, but, you know, the taking a step towards a little park in one of the poorest parts of Candler is a pretty big deal to this commission and to, and I think you'll see more things like that, making sure that everybody in the county is taken care of. There's, with all budgets, there's some things in there I don't like, and there should be people that walk out of this room that are happy, and there should be people that walk out of this room that are not happy if it's a budget that is a pretty good one. So I'm going to be supporting the budget. I would like to see the rate lower, but I you know, as hard as we all worked, I wish it could have been done. But at this point, in order to sustain the core responsibilities for the next 4 years, it would have been very difficult, if not a little bit reckless to do. So, for that reason, I'm going to be supporting the budget tonight.
Ms. Green, we've had some tough times. But I do appreciate everything that you've done. But some of the things that we've both done have probably not been very well received. The only thing in this budget that I don't like is there's a couple of things that we can disagree on, but the one thing that I disagree with is we're giving the people some false hope, because there was money set aside in a city, basically a city election, that AB Tech bought the election to construct buildings. We have took $4 million out of the construction of them buildings and put it in this budget. So they need buildings, and that, you know, I've stepped up to try to utilize some of the money because I was against it. But when we take money away from one thing, it's not good. When we take money, like we took the other week from the fire range to buy ambulances and stuff, that's not good either. I know you've been put in a hole, and you've had a hard time digging yourself out of it. And the last few years, you've had to move things around that finally come due, and this is the way that you had to do it. I had a whole thing that I was going to do here. But the main thing is, it's hard to vote for something that if we didn't take the $4 million from something that was supposedly different. I want the schools, I want everybody to have everything. And I do appreciate everything the staff does, and I do appreciate what you've done. It's been hard, very hard for all of us. And we all have got along in the special areas. But stating with that, you know, everybody has to give and some people have to take. And I've tried to give and take, but the one thing that I can't give on is I am on the board at AB Tech. There's things that, you know, that school has to be fixed. There's a lot wrong with it, and I want to utilize that money to fix the school, not pay our county employees over there. That's the problem that I have. We've paid them before. Me and you's done things together that cost money, and that was me and you together, you know, and so I understand that. But it's hard to wrap, you know, I voted for 4 budgets and I haven't voted for any of them. And I really wanted to vote for this one. But when we have, you know, I call it robbing Peter to pay Paul. We're taking this credit card to cover that credit card. And that's, I'm not saying anything, but that's what you thought you needed to do. And I have to do what I feel like is right. And what I feel like is right is I can't vote for this budget on account of that. So thank you very much for what you've done for this county.
Thank you.
Thank you. I do have, I've got a couple things I want to just express, but I do have a couple of questions I wanted to talk about first. And about the additional funding for the county schools and the Asheville City Schools. So, and before I ask the question, I just want to say, we've had some, we had a request from the county schools, and our originally presented budget was, for the county schools, was about 1.5 million less than what looks like we're gonna support tonight. In the city schools, 280,000 less. So, but I just want to, I guess I just want to express, and this is for myself, but I think I speak for the commission that we're really excited about the teacher compensation plan that the school board came up with last year. And last year we supported that, and we made an important investment in starting that. And we committed to doing that over 2 years, because it was just such a big piece. We couldn't bite it off in 1 year, but we thought we'll try to bite it off in 2 years. And so I'm excited that we have an approach that I think is going to address this needs. And I really appreciate the dialogue with the school board around this. Part of the issues in terms of the need to do this amendment tonight is not about whether the county commission supported following through on the teacher supplemental pay, as well as the other priority items identified by the school board in this year's budget. Part of this budget process is just getting into some really mundane sounding but really important considerations, like how much fund balance does the county have, and how much do we need to retain, and how much does the schools have, and how much do they need to retain to just run their organizations versus investing it into the priorities for that particular year. So there's been good discussions over the last, during this budget process around some of those questions. And I think we're landing in a really good place in terms of being able to support the priorities identified by the school board, and in both the county through our amendment to allocate these additional funds tonight, and I think from the schools, and also allocating a bit of their existing funds towards these priorities as well. We're going to meet the commitments we made and the priorities identified for the year. But I did just want to I know, and I want to acknowledge the school board members that we have with us, and I might miss some, but I see that Pat Bryant and Amy Churchill, Max Queen, and Donna Pate are all with us. So thank you for your service on the county schools, and I know we have Superintendent Tony Baldwin and Bobby Short with us as well. So thank you all for what you do. And but I did just want to confirm before we vote on this that if we approve the amendment that is proposed tonight for an additional $1.8 million, that we will be able to together accomplish the commitments we made to the school teachers in terms of the pay raises that were brought to us last year, as well as the other priorities identified by the school board in the budget this year. So I know we have Superintendent Baldwin and Board Member Pat Bryant, who were in some of these conversations. Would either of you like to just comment? Because I want to make sure we're landing this thing on the same page around addressing those policy items. Superintendent Baldwin. Thank you for being with us. We really appreciate it.
I do want to acknowledge that indeed with this particular addendum, that it will allow us first and foremost to fulfill the commitment of benefits, health insurance, retirement for locally paid, certified, non-certified staff, what the state increase as of about midnight last night. And you've heard me talk about the timeline dilemma. This is just the perfect example, because we did get a surprise that went in the opposite direction. So that makes this addendum even more important. And I will also commit to this commission, I certainly do not have the full vote, but my recommendation as superintendent that this amount of money will be used to fulfill the benefits as well as the final phase of the local supplement as we presented last year. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. And thanks to everyone for working on this together and figuring out a way to get there. It takes everyone digging deep sometimes, and reevaluating all of our internal assumptions, and I really appreciate folks coming together to figure out how to get there and digging deep to make it happen. Yes, sir.
Mr. Baldwin, I think all of us know that your mother is in hospice at the present time, and all the prayers is going out for her.
I appreciate that, Mike, and just want to give to our community for hospice and the Solace Center. So
Absolutely.
thank you. Several of you have mentioned that. I appreciate that from the heart.
Thank you. All right. Thank you for addressing that item. And I guess I would just like to make a couple of other comments. I'll be supporting the budget as well, and I would echo that I appreciate everyone working hard on this. I think it's been a good process of communication and listening, and it is always a hard process. And I'm happy with where this is landing. Although, as everyone has said, there are parts of it that we would all do differently. And we'll have to continue to look at some of those items. But I think this budget does address the key priorities we have in terms of supporting our teachers in public schools, first and foremost. And I appreciate the active engagement from all the members of the fire chiefs, from all of the fire and rescue districts who have participated in this process. And I'm very proud that the budget is fully supporting our investments in public safety throughout Buncombe County. So thank you all for your hard work on this. Are there any other comments before we vote on the motion? Yes, sir.
Scott, from my Fairview Fire District, had the opportunity this morning to go out, and we went from a rating 6 to a rating 3 in Fairview. So, Scott, thank you very much for bringing that to where it works for us.
Want a privilege too. I want to also acknowledge that our sheriff is in the meeting.
Thank you,
Duncan, and some members of his team. We appreciate them and the support that they tirelessly give to this community.
Thank you very much for pointing that out. All right, if there's no further comments, all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
All opposed?
No.
All right, thank you. And the
would it be? Could we take a 10-minute recess before we get into everything else?
5 minutes.
Let's make it a.
It's
5 minute.
usually I always say 10. Somebody says 5. It ends up being 12. But we'll be back in probably about 7. So.
All right, somewhere in between. We'll take a short break.
It's good time. Yeah.
No.